Welcome to Build a Drone Reviewer Podcast, Episode 69, Rotor Talk Live, Parrot Launches Anafi USA. Got that coming up next. Recently on Rotor Talk Live, I spent a great part of the evening discussing the announcement that Parrot made regarding the new Anafi USA. So without any further ado, let's roll that broadcast in its entirety. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 3, Episode 28, Parrot Launches the Anafi USA. How is everyone doing this evening? Ron, how are you this evening?
Doing well, Bill. Just taking in all the news about this new Anafi Enterprise USA drone. I think it has some really good specs on it. The camera is amazing. I know we're going to get into it in the show, so I won't promote it too much. I've been getting out, doing a lot of flying recently, so everything's good except this darn virus won't go away. But we'll say that for another show. Marcus, how are you tonight?
Hey, good. So
Yes, Marcus.
Man, I didn't want to say anything, guys, because I have been working with the folks at Parrot and
wait a minute, DNA, Marcus, watching DNA here.
I do have an NDA, and I can't open this package up. I'm not.
No, you can't.
But inside here is something everybody would like to see. I'm quite sure.
Well, at least you didn't. Bill's got the narrative. At least you didn't leave your Anafi Enterprise sitting out in the desk or anything.
Yeah, oh, geez. Oh, gosh. Oh, what's that behind you, Ron?
Go to the wide chat, Bill. Wide chat, Bill.
Yeah. What is that?
That should be in here. DNA here,
DNA, guys, DNA. That's crazy.
And wait a minute, let me put the Mavic 3 away too.
Yeah.
And I gotta get that Phantom 5 put back in the box too.
Ron, you better do that, or you're just going to ruin it. I mean, it's gonna spoil all our fun for the rest of the year. We won't have anything to talk about.
Well, and Bill must have the Fimi X8 SE someplace.
Yes, I got the X9 sitting back there. I shouldn't. What?
Oh, and I can put the Xeno 2 Plus away, right, Marcus?
There you go, the Xeno 2 Plus. Wow, you might have the Xeno 2 Plus, Ron. I've got the Xeno 2 Plus Pro.
Okay.
Oh, you got the Pro. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's greet some people here. Ray Kelly's here tonight. DeMarco's here tonight. Lauren's in with us. Drone Shots. Mike R. Medium. Mike, how you doing? Chris is here tonight. Brian is here. Welcome, Brian. Sam Burns is here. Welcome. I know I saw, who else did I see here? Ian Fleming's here. Tampa Drone Life. John AZ is here. Let's see who else. And Jaybird. I did get to mention everybody. All right. And if you want to know something, it is just unfrickin' believably, like, it's just not warm. It's hot. I mean, it's beyond hot down here in Tampa.
How hot is it, Bill?
110 heat index here. Okay.
In the shade. In the shade.
So you take, after I went to the mailbox and came back, I took a shower today. No, I'm just kidding, but it was that bad. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. And one of the first things I want to hand it over to Ron and Marcus and get some updates from them on the Xeno 2. I know there's been some pricing on that. There's a Xeno 2 Plus. Anything, and I know they've done some Skydio. I know Marcus has done some Skydio videos lately, and Ron has too. So let's hand it over to them for a few minutes and take it away, guys.
You want me to take the Xeno part, Ron?
Yeah, I'll set you up, Marcus. The Xeno 2 has been running for about $550 on the Hubson website, and near $800 on the Banggood and look at that hat and GearBest websites. But Marcus, did we see a price cut on the Hubson site this week for the Xeno 2?
We did actually. And that looks damn good, Bill. Yeah, so they reduced the price on Hubson's website to $499. But I got even more news for you, Ron and Bill. Just before we got on the show here, a pop-up ad came up on my computer from Banggood. They have the Xeno 2 now from the China warehouse for $459. Now, it's kind of weird. The thing said only 8 available, so I would assume those would go pretty quick. But $459 is pretty close to a price that I could, say, yeah, if you want that one, go get it. It really should be more like around 400, but $459 is the cheapest we've seen in a while. So it's
very good news. Very good news, Marcus.
The other thing is the Xeno 2 Plus is no longer on Hubson's website. Who knows why, but it is. I saw it on GearBest website, and I think Banggood's as well. On GearBest website, it was almost $800. I mean, crazy stuff. So anyway, who knows what's going on with the folks at Hubson? I suppose they'll get it figured out one of these days. What did you think about all that, Ron?
Yeah, I mean that's great news about that price adjustment down to $450. Without saying, if you're thinking about buying a Hubson 2, do not go definitely don't go to GearBest, and probably not even the Banggood, because who knows, that price could change or whatever. I'd buy it directly from Hubson or whatever. At least the price is the price, and you'll probably get it faster, and you'll probably know more of the tracking. So I mean, I would recommend skipping the third-party sellers if you have interest in it and going directly to Hubson. But the thing is, I mean, like we talk about, that price is still a little bit high, and we were saying this a couple months ago. But tell me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but since the Mavic Air 2 came out at that incredible price of $799, and with all that does, that kind of pushed the price of things like the Xeno 2 and the Fimi X8. They have to be lower now, because if you're going to spend anywhere near $500, you would be, you'd be kind of, I hate to use the word foolish or whatever, but you could just save up a couple extra paychecks or go another month or two without a drone and just get that Mavic Air 2 rather than pay for $500 over for these other drones that don't offer you close to the performance. Am I off base on this?
So what would you guys say? I would say that Mavic Air 2 is probably 3 times the drone of those other two. And not just the features, but the flight controls, the camera, the whole package.
Exactly. Not just on a spec sheet. On a spec sheet, they may be closer, but when you actually fly them, the gap widens. Is that a good way to say it, Marcus?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear Bill's opinion of that as well.
Yeah. I Marcus, you kind of just nailed it right there. I mean, as far as you have, and because of the screen, I got to kind of show it like this. You have, you have the Xeno 2 and the equivalent type drones down here. And then, way up, I'm trying to show it, way up here is the Mavic Air 2. I mean, it's like apples and oranges. It's not even close. I mean,
it ain't a fair fight.
No, it isn't. And,
it set a new bar. The Mavic Air 2 has set a new bar.
It really has, Ron, because I think you guys, did you guys see Billy's latest video? It's the Mavic Air 2 and the Mavic 2 Pro, and which one? Okay. Now Billy does great videos. Okay. Yeah. I'll say this. And this was, and he just kind of nailed it right here, because it's so stinking close. It's not funny between the two. And think about it. Okay. With the price difference between the two, because, that price difference it's crazy. And yet you get a drone that's capable of doing almost everything that the Mavic 2 Pro does. I mean, for that kind of a price. And that's why I can say this, DJI, we never know what their sales figures are, but I got to tell you this, that group, the Mavic Air 2 group that I have, I get 25, 30, 40 people a day joining this group, because it's growing as fat. I would say this, the biggest growth group that I've had was the Mavic Mini group. I mean, that just, went through the roof, and it's still pretty big. But I'll tell you what, per day. Okay. This group beats them all. I've never seen people this excited about a drone since the Mavic 2 came out. Really?
Okay, so let's take that apart, Bill. So if somebody is joining that group, they are either they just bought that Mavic Air 2, or they're considering, they're pretty close to buying that Mavic Air 2. So that's kind of a good barometer of what their sales are, and like you said, through the roof.
Yeah. That banner should say DJI fanboy alert here.
Well, but it's well founded. I mean, listen. I think I know Ron and I, Bill. You've had primarily DJI stuff, and I know you would admit that. But Ron and I have done a bunch of other things, and we're both saying, wow, it's pretty hard to beat DJI. I mean, the Skydio has things that I love. The Parrot Anafi, Ron and I are both big fans of that drone, right? But if somebody came up to me today and said, Marcus, you can only have one drone, it would just be so easy. It's the Mavic Air 2, period. That's an easy decision.
And listen, I know I sound like a DJI fanboy here, but Marcus could tell you, when we first started talking about this Air 2 back in around February, when the rumors were getting hot and heavy, I was here. I don't need that Air 2, whatever.
I remember.
I'm not going to get that Air 2. It's going to offer me nothing of value to me. So I was poo-pooing it back in February, and I've completely changed my tune on that now that I actually have it.
Well, and this is great because this is a perfect segue for this segment here. Now, I got some Mavic Air 2 updates. Now, I want to go into this, guys. I posted out on DJI forums. Now, I think they're the best forums that are out there. I don't spend a lot of time in forums because you gotta have real thick skin because people are as tough as nails in these forums. Okay. But the DJI forums tend to be the better ones. Okay. People seem to be very responsive. Now I posed this question. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen here. Now, you know, the one big thing that we have been talking about with this is, okay, let me get it up here. All right. Now, the one thing we've been talking about is a smart controller, okay? You know, and I know Lauren is saying, oh, you know, we have to wait for them to go through some cycles and get some firmware updates out there and everything. And, you know, that's understandable. You know, I do understand that to a point, okay? So what I did was I posed this question, okay, smart controller Mavic Air 2. Any word on when we can expect firmware update on smart controller enable it to work the Mavic Air 2? Now I actually got an answer back, and what's nice is you'll get answers back from DJI here. Okay, this is actually a person from DJI. Hello there, Bill, the drone reviewer. Thank you for reaching out. I'm sorry that the DJI smart controller is not yet compatible with the DJI Mavic Air 2. Our DJI engineers are still working on it. In addition, Mavic Air 2 will be compatible with the smart controller through a future firmware update. Kindly please stay tuned to the latest update by visiting our official website for more details. Thank you. I mean, you know, and that's why, and I know Marcus and I talked about this last week, Ron. It's like when you interact with DJI, you know, using, you know, like, you know, my mom's, you know, drilled into me, please and thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Kind of thing. Okay. You treat them with kindness. You'll get kindness in response. I don't care if it's another country and the language is different. Okay. You treat them nice, you know, please and thank you. It's universal. Okay. It will translate well in any language. And that's what we have here. So guys, what do you think? I mean, you know, where do you think we're at? I mean, you know, they're saying they're working on it. Do you think this is something we're going to see 3 months from now or next year?
Have a source, Bill. I have a source up in Canada. I think he lives in Calgary.
Really?
I think he runs actually a drone group up there in Calgary.
He may be in the chat tonight.
Oh, I think he's a pretty good photographer too, I think.
He's a damn good photographer. He's saying next month. So I'm saying next month.
Hey, you know, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. If our friend is right, because he's under DNA right now.
DNA.
If our friend is right up there in Canada, you know, this is going to be, you know, this will be groundbreaking here, because at this point, that'll make the smart controller compatible with the Mavic 2 series, including the Mavic Enterprise. It'll also make it, it's also compatible with the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, and then now the Mavic Air 2. Okay. Now here's something I want to throw out there for you guys. Now, I've been getting a lot of comments about this, and I wanted to run this by both of you tonight. And I know I didn't put this in the agenda, but people have been complaining. There's been a lot of complaints I've seen in groups and out on the forums about the Fly app, especially with the Mavic Air 2. Reason being is, okay, now you guys know, it's a kind of a natural progression. The Mini can only give you so much, so the progression is to go to the Air 2, okay? And the capabilities, for people like us, the Fly app is kind of, it's a little too basic, okay, if I want to use that terminology. And a lot of people are out there saying, you know what, Bill, we need a better app. We need a, it could like a Go 4 app, because we need
or a Fly Plus.
Yeah.
Or a Fly Plus app.
Yeah.
If I had my druthers, I would rather that it used the Go 4 app. But no question about it, for exactly the reasons that you're talking about. That said, I am not so uptight and worried about the Fly app, because I'm kind of getting used to it. If they would just change that damn lettering at the top to a different color than white, yeah, I'd be going, cool. I'm good with it.
Well, the only thing I have to say, it's still what I call in a shakedown period, because, if you look at it, the Mini came out in November. All right. Now, it's like what, we're going on 7 months that we've had this. And now with the Air, it's been out a month and a half. You would think by now that we have kind of weeded out a lot of this stuff. And a lot of the stuff has been weeded out, and there's been firmware updates. There's been app updates that have made it better, but it's still, there's still, and I can't quite put my finger on it. There's still a few quirks in it. Like, for example, okay, and I've had this question, I get asked so much. It's like when ADS-B kicks in, okay, and you get an audible voice, the audible voice is in Chinese. Have you guys heard that?
No.
Okay.
I've never seen a whatever on my. It's never ever worked on my thing. I've never seen it say there's a plane nearby.
Because where you fly,
well, maybe there is a plane nearby, but I've never seen it actually happen on my device.
Yeah, I've gotten that, and I've heard that, and people are asking me, is there? I pick Imperial in English as my option and everything, and there's just, and I said, guys, I said tweet DJI support. That's all I can say on that, because there's that's something that needs tweak. And I really think, as far as the ADS-B is concerned on this, okay, this is brand new to DJI. I mean, this is like them introducing a brand new drone. Okay, this is a brand new feature on a drone. Okay, they've never had it before on any of their drones. And it's kind of like trial and error here. So that's why give DJI feedback. Go out there on the forum. The forums are a great place for that. Go ahead, Marcus.
Hey, well, I just was pointing out what Lauren, the conversation in the chat between Lauren and Sam Burns, and I was kidding around with Lauren, but the what they're saying is, and I do recall that now, that the reason they use the Fly app is that part of the weight of that processing is transferred to your mobile device, and that way they're able to use more of the processor on the drone for drone things. So that totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's understandable. Hey, and they'll develop that Fly.
Yeah, it'll get developed. I mean,
hey, two quick points for you, move on, Bill, about the Fly app. One thing I did see a lot out in the community. I didn't have problems this time. I did have problems with the Mavic Mini before. The Fly app did do the most recent firmware upgrade. I'm sorry, I don't know the numbers. So when it came out about week or two ago, a lot of people have problems with that firmware upgrade, and they had to go to the DJI Go Assistant to get it corrected. So, and it was enough people I saw post that. I don't think it was user error. I think there was some problems, doing the update through the app. I mean, you guys have heard feedback from some of your people that haven't heard it.
Yeah, and and that's why I've said, Ron, and I know Marcus knows I've said this too, is to go out and do it through DJI Assistant. Okay, it is rarely have I had a failure running it on DJI Assistant on my PC. Okay, rarely, and usually when it does fail, it's like I've picked a prime time. Their servers are getting hit pretty doggone hard. It's nothing on my end. It's on their end. It's because their servers are getting hit. So I'll have a bottle of Coke, kick back, relax, try 15 minutes later, and it works. Okay. So I've kind of preached that ad infinitum as far as that's concerned. The other thing, and both of you guys have done this, and I know Ron just did a video on it, is update the firmware update. A lot of people, I know I need, especially people who may be new to drones. Okay, I've updated the remote, I've updated the drone, and I've updated the app. I'm fine. No, you guys brought up, and Ron just has a great video, and I know Marcus did too. Battery firmware. Okay, guys, why don't you enlighten us on that? Because
first of all, my video was basically Marcus Crawford told me how to do it. It's in my video, and I credit him in the writing and in the video. He's the one who told me how to do it. So I'm going to let him take this because I did the video. But again, it was through Marcus's instructional that I got it done.
Go for it, Marcus.
Yeah, well, so listen, I don't know that it's that big a deal as long as you paid attention every time you put another battery in there and updated it as it came up. But for me, I just update them all. That way I know they're done, right? When you put your battery in, when you look at that main screen, the start screen, not the FPV screen, the screen before that, if you just wait just a second, it'll prompt you to update the firmware in that battery, and you just click it, and it takes just a few seconds. So when I do a firmware update, I just cycle all of my batteries through. That way I know they're done and don't have to worry about it. And what I will also say is I don't think all updates necessarily have a battery update in there, as well as just like this last one, it had both a controller and a aircraft as well as the batteries. Some of them are just the aircraft. Some of them are just the controller. So it can be different every time.
And this is important, this battery thing this time, because we had Bill Thomas on Drone Nation, formerly known as Zeno Nation, a couple weeks ago, and he's had an issue with his batteries already, like discoloring on the, I'm going to call it the one long end, and we don't know if this has anything to do with the firmware update or not, but it could. And at that point, Bill Thomas is the only one I knew that had an issue, but I've seen other people report that issue since then. So it's not just him, and it could just be a thing of bad batteries, but who knows? That's important. That's why it's important to get this battery firmware update done.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning toward that might be totally unrelated, and it could
be. Yeah.
And I'll bet you that there was a batch of batteries that might have had and that's just me shooting from the hip too. I don't.
Right. If it's the slightest chance at all that it had to do with update, then it's important to do it.
Right. That's true. And also Lauren is making a good point in the chat as well. If you're in doubt, you can go to that safety menu and you can check for updates. You just click that button that says check for updates, and it'll tell you if you need it or not.
Yeah. Thank you, Lauren, for posting that.
And I don't. We haven't moved to Scudio, but when we do get to Scudio, make Marcus tell the story about the Scudio battery charger getting an update. That's an amazing story. But when we get to that, just make sure you ask him that question.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and we're gonna get to that in a second. But one thing I wanted to cover first. Now, we did talk about, Marcus and I talked about some Mavic 3 news last week, okay? And then Sunday, I believe, Hey Castello broke some news that there was actually a date for this. Okay, now I want to set some things straight because there's been some comments out there and people have left some things. All right, now first of all, the video that I put out on Sunday, the live stream, that's been removed. That's no longer up there. Okay, number two, and I'm going to share this article. Hey Castello put out an article on Drone XL. You know, that's his new media forum. And let's go ahead and get this up here. Right. And Mavic 3 release date is fake news and shows a DJI T16 Agris instead. And Hey apologizes. It shows a DJI Agris T16. You know, the September 26th release date is going to be for that. So, you know, he wanted to clear that up, and he did get that out there. He did get that information out there. Now, this information is still valid here, okay? DJI Mavic 3 rumored to have optical image stabilization, OIS. Now, these drawings and these renderings here, these are filed in the Chinese patent office, okay? This is fact. This is done, okay? And this would not be coming out from DJI unless something was coming along those lines, okay? This is why, and it perfectly fits a Mavic 3, okay, as far as the size and capability and things here. So, you know, I wanted to go ahead and get this out and make sure, you know, there's people are saying, you know, I've even been saying, you know, oh, you're just like the fake news in the United States, okay? I said, and I told people this, I said, look, I says, we do not discuss anything religious or political on this channel. That's been since day one. And you continue to go there, your comments will be deleted. And I know, and most of you, 99.9% of you have been like that. But I got a comment like that tonight, and I advised that person very nicely. I told him, I said, look, I said, you can comment about this, but don't make it political. You make it political, okay, your comment's going to be deleted. And I don't care what end of the spectrum it's on. And you know, that's just the way it is. And I think that's right, because we discuss drones on this channel, and now RC cars. But guys, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just got a new SD card. Hey, Bill, so I do have thoughts, and I want to make this perfectly clear. There are people that love to criticize, people like Hi and people like you that bring us the news. And what you're not doing is you're not telling us this is for sure, this is it. You're presenting it as, hey, this could be, this is what we're hearing, this is rumor, it is not fact, and it is speculation. And as long as it's presented in that way, I don't see a problem with it. And particularly in Hi's case, where the second he knew that that was wrong, he went right out and said, hey, this was not correct. So listen, I appreciate what Hi does and what you do to bring us the latest news about these kind of things. And yeah, I just wouldn't worry about the critics. I'm
not. And you know, and once Hey put this out here, I took my video down immediately. I didn't even hesitate to that, and I posted the note out on Build a Drone Reviewer, both the Facebook group and page, and the Mavic 3 group as well, to let everybody know. And then I also went onto the community tab in YouTube and put a screenshot of Hay's post out there just to make sure everybody knew what was going on. So you know, it's important that and one thing that you learn is when you're talking about news, okay. And Marcus kind of nailed it here. We've never, and that's one thing we've been very careful with the past couple of years here. Early on, I wasn't as careful, but now I'm being very careful. We never state these as fact. Until DJI comes out and actually releases that drone, it's always rumored to be, okay? So that's where that's where this is at. And I wanted to get this cleared up. Now, the other thing that I want to go ahead and talk about here is, let me go ahead and stop sharing the screen here. You know, the other thing is I got a few updates on the Fimi here. Now, let me go ahead and where are we here? Okay. All right. Now, you know, it's been a trying time for people who have been on the waiting list. Okay, ask our good friend Sam Burns, who was in the chat, who ended up going elsewhere from Banggood to get his, and I don't blame him. And I can tell you this, I talked to Marcus before during the pre-show, and my commission's been cut in half because of people canceling orders, and both of us agreed. Who blames people? No, neither one of us could blame anybody for doing that. There's no rhyme or reason. Now I'm going to go ahead and we'll share the screen again here, and I want to get I can't emphasize this enough. These emails that we've gotten from Banggood here. I think this is important that we go over this again, just to show you the kind of communication we've been getting from Banggood. I think this is important here. So hang on a second here. And things are a little frozen, so we'll just kind of wait until things get caught up here.
Okay, Bill, I'm going to show off my drone mail today. Whoa. Whoa.
What kind of memory card did you get, Marcus?
I've never had a 128 gigabyte Evo Select. I've used their 64 quite a bit.
Right, they're excellent cards. Yes,
that is a good card.
And these are for the Mavic Air 2, the all-day 8-pack.
Well, now you're going to be getting all that great motion blur in your videos.
There you go.
Yeah, and folks, we got a little dead air time. Once we get through the Fimi here, we're going to be getting to the main attraction, the new Parrot Anafi Enterprise USA drone. We're going to focus on that in the second half of the show. And I kind of didn't know that the product was actually made in the USA. So maybe that was one of the requirements from the government to give Parrot that big contract. But it's good to know that, product is made here by American workers. And, apparently the coronavirus didn't slow them down. So
I got something else I can show off, Ron.
Yeah, go ahead and show your card while we're
get ready for that next video. So look how I got this ready.
Look at you. I know exactly what you did.
Yeah.
That beacon. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
And you'll be able to track it 30 meters away now with a new software update for the Skydio.
It should be interesting, and we've talked about this before. The cool thing about the Skydio is you don't even have to think about it. It's going to go where it's going to go, and it will follow that thing perfully. So
it's going to know where it's going to go. It's going to avoid what it's going to avoid.
Exactly.
And you won't even need two people for the video because once you put Scotty in the air, you could drive the car the whole time.
Well, I had a nice discussion with my lovely bride, and she has consented to be the cameraman with the GoPro Hero 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now your Hero 8 doesn't float around in space and track everything yet.
What now? Say again?
I mean, you don't have that new Hero that kind of
yeah.
Hero just films everything intelligently. Yeah. Oh, that's the Hero not we can't talk about yet.
That's right. You're under DNA for that. Okay, now I finally got this screen up. I apologize.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please. Absolutely here. Okay, now this is all right. Okay. Now, this was the email that we got from Banggood, out of stock notification. Please select your preferred solution. And, it's this link will expire in 15 days. They want you to make a decision. Okay. Now, select your preferred solution. And, Marcus and I kind of elaborated about it. It gave you the option. Now, let me go back here just to, I think I have the date. I don't have the date on this one. The date was June 19th, and it gave us till, it wasn't even a week out. I think June 25th. All right.
24th, I thought, Bill, but
24th. Okay. It gave us until the 24th. That was the only maximum date you could select. And I know both Marcus and I selected it. So we did. And here it's still the same. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to switch over. Okay. This is what my status shows. Okay. This is for the, and it's still there. So who knows? I got it. Now I went out today and I looked on some other groups. Okay. Now a lot of talk is about a July 10th date. So who knows? Okay. Who really even knows if that's valid or not? But I'm hanging on till the bitter end with this. Chances are real good if I don't get a refund when I get it, I'm going to sell it. Okay. Because I'm sure there'll be people that'll want to buy this. Okay.
Hey, Bill, let's clear that up for everybody. You ended up buying another one from the China warehouse.
Right.
So when you talk about selling it, it's a second one.
Right. This is a second one. This isn't a first. For those of you who haven't been familiar with my Fimi X8 SE 2020 adventures. So this is a second one. So the other thing that I wanted to share is this. Now, there have not been any firmware updates recently, and I wanted to go there, and let's go ahead and get out the Fimi's site here. Okay. Now, this shows the latest firmware update for, there was one on 6/16, was gimbal stabilization, flight parameter when shooting panorama. There was one on the 23rd for the camera firmware, for image quality for 2.7K and 1080p, optimized coding performance at high bit rates. All right. That's been it. There hasn't been any other updates since then. Now, one of the things that I wanted to share with everybody tonight, and I've been seeing a lot of this, which is good news, and I'm pretty happy to see this, not only in my group, but in others. I'm watching video, and I know Sam posted his video. The horizon tilt issue doesn't seem to be there in a lot of these videos now, which is definitely some good news. So, I've been waiting for a break in the weather, and it's like I said, it's just during the day. I work during the day, but even after work, it's just still like 95 outside. It's just, I'm gonna try tomorrow night if it's kind of reasonable to get out there and get a flight in, because I want to take a look and see if it's been corrected. So kind of stay tuned for that. So Marcus, what I want to ask you this. Okay, have you seen some of these videos that have come out? Like I know Sam posted his video. Have you watched any of these?
Yeah, and so it sounds like that the issue may very likely be resolved, and that's great news. That to me was probably the one big thing hanging over the top of that drone. And wow, once that gets resolved, it's a phenomenal piece of tech, especially if you got it for $350 like we did on that initial deal. And then those, there were a few people that got that $299 deal, and they seem to be honoring that. Of course, assuming that you ever actually get the drone. And I've said this before, and I think we talked about it last week, Bill. I am not going to cancel my order or ask for a refund. However, if Banggood, in their infinite wisdom, decides to cancel my order, I will not reorder, because you've already got a 2020 version, Bill. I have a 2018 version of the drone that I'm very happy with. So I'd probably just be happy with that at that point.
Yeah. And well, the other thing for me is I have a number of accessories coming. I have a case coming. I have landing gear coming. I have extra props. I have another battery coming. I have a battery charger already, a multi-battery charger. So, when I get the third battery, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do a video to kind of demo that. And because it'll not only charge that, it'll charge the controller as well. And it also has an option to charge your smartphone at the same time. So I'm anxious to see that. It does have a built-in fan in it. People said it, the reviews, there have been good reviews on it. So that's one of the things that we're going to do. Now we're going to get ready, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the main subject of the evening here. Now, I know a lot of us, Parrot introduces the Anafi USA. All right. And I'm just going to leave the screen up right here. Now, it was, and we kind of had an inkling this was going to be a commercial release. And I don't know how many of you in the chat actually watched it. Now, I was online. I was working today, but I pulled up the website, and it was a little late. But there was a gentleman who was out there, and it was he he wasn't very articulate. Okay, I'm just gonna say that there's a lot of pauses with his speaking, and I understand he probably doesn't probably doesn't know English very well. But you kind of got the. I was able to make out a lot of what he said, and I can understand things. He talked about the price. He talked about some of the specifications here, and that's what I want to do first. We'll get to the price. We'll take a look at the specs here on the screen, and then we're going to talk a little bit about this here. Now, I know a lot of people. I know Ron Levesque. Ron, if you're watching tonight, I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, no, Anafi too." But hang on, guys, because this is good news. Because what this is geared for, they're gearing this for the United States market. Calling it Anafi USA, okay, that's a good marketing tactic, okay, and also too, for first responders, all right, and the government is going to like this because the United States government's affinity for DJI, it's like they really still don't see eye to eye, which is still unfortunate, even after DJI proved beyond a shadow of a doubt they don't transmit any data. But okay, this bodes well for Parrot, okay? And if you see it boding well for Parrot, they're going to come out. Parrot's going to come out with an update to the Anafi, okay? The Anafi 1 has been nothing but a success. And, I know Ron and Marcus have raved about it. It's been on my list to get. I was hanging on here to see what we have here. But let's take a look at some things here, and then we're going to talk about it. Now, let's go ahead. This is a close-up of the camera here. Cameras here, I should say.
Is that a 3-camera array, Bill?
Yeah, it's a 3-camera. Right there. There's the FLIR. Okay. The Anafi USA offers the following: lightweight, it's 500 grams, portable, foldable, last to deploy. It should have said fast to deploy, 55 seconds. Good flight time, 32 minutes. It's $7,000. It's quiet, 79 decibels, 32x zoom, thermal FLIR, Boson camera with a 320 by 256 resolution, 4K video from a wide angle and telelens, gimbal tilt range from -140 to a +110. Offers data security and transmission, which is fantastic. Encrypted data on the micro SD card, extra rugged airframe, high wind resistance, weatherproof. No geofencing, charges through USB-C, software ecosystem designed in France, assembled in the United States, likely contains Chinese-made parts, okay? The only two drawbacks: Wi-Fi transmission, so limited operational range, no obstacle avoidance, all right? And it tells you what you get in the box, the software ecosystem that will work with it. It is going to run $7,000. Apparently, drone nerds and other resellers will start selling that soon. So, okay, with all that being said, gentlemen, all right, I wanted to get your initial thoughts and impressions about this.
Hey, good for Parrot is what I'll say. And I also want to give credit where credit is due within this group, because he's in the chat. There is one individual that got Ron and I really excited about the Parrot Anafi, and that's Brian over at True Drone Reviews. I think was the guy that really got Ron and I interested in the Anafi, and I'm glad he did. He was a proponent of that drone very early on. This, I think, I just have to say it's good for our first responders. No matter what you think about the battle with DJI and whether they're transmitting data or not, it's always good to have a competitor. And it also appears that Anafi Parrot is serious about it, number one. And then the second thing that I think is huge, I'm just tickled to death that they're building it right here in the United States of America. You know, it's jobs, and I think that was a smart move on their part.
Good comments, Marcus. And again, I want to thank Brian too. When a lot of the big channels were poo-pooing Anafi when it came out, Brian was only one of the few people out there telling the good folks in the community how good the drone was, and kudos to Brian. And
well, he's the reason I bought mine, Ron. I mean, how about you? I'm pretty sure it was that same conversation when you ordered yours, right?
Right. Because again, if you listen to a lot of big channels, oh, they just poo-pooed it. They would only talk about what it did do well, and nobody would talk about what it did do well. And that's the problem with too many reviews. Don't spend the whole review telling me that it doesn't do something well. Do a balanced review. Tell me what it does do well also. So, that being said, I do have to say that apparently the Anafi in that first year, I'm going to say in that first maybe 6 to 8 months, it received a ton of firmware updates that made it an entirely better drone than it was on release day. But as Bill would say, kudos to Anafi for going in and doing that, making it a better drone through software. But I just want to say something real quick. I mean, about the DJI drones and them spying us and sending data back to China. That's, as far as I know, and I've looked at a lot of articles, that's based on no scientific evidence. Nobody's ever taken a DJI drone apart and found any mechanical parts or chips in it that were doing any of this, and nobody's ever found any place, any computer or server where they've ever been sending your video back to somehow back to China. So if they're doing it, they haven't been caught. So this is all based on zero evidence, unless the CIA or somebody has evidence they're not sharing. But as far as we know, all that's based on zero evidence. But now, still kudos to Anafi for getting in that market and giving DJI some competition. I know they're taking advantage of this spying thing, but in business, I mean, why not? They didn't. Unless they created that whole spying rumor, they're not responsible for it. And in many ways, Bill read the specs off that 32x zoom and the shots they showed there about how close these guys, they're filming like towers and stuff like that. That's an incredible system, but I don't even understand all this. But it's based on two different camera sensors that each have 21 megapixels in them. So I don't know what the math is. That 42 megapixel. Anyhow, it seems to be amazing technology. Of course, we haven't seen a working model yet, but Bill, what do you think of a camera like that? And how do you think it compares to what's on the DJI Mavic Enterprise, which you've had some experience with the Enterprise? I think you threw more of a FLIR unit than you did a zoom. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was. And I was going to talk about that, Ron. Thank you for bringing that up. The first thing I'll say is I was really excited when I saw Parrot came out with the Anafi Thermal, because the one thing that they perfected, head and shoulders above DJI, they had that other camera on there, and in the regular image, you could still see it through the thermal image, okay? And it was crystal clear. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Mavic Enterprise Thermal, while I was really excited to get it, and it's great, it doesn't have that same that missing piece that the Anafi Thermal had, okay, where you can get that crisp, detailed, clear image, and especially for a first responder, if it's a firefighter trying to rescue somebody and trying to look for that specific signature, it was rough looking at the outline on the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual is what it's called. It was rough looking at that and trying to discern that. Now I even walked it through the house and turned the lights out just to kind of get an idea of what heat signatures look like. And our dog, obviously, and I had our dog was there too, and I had Valerie walk around, and you can tell, and outside and trying to get that as well. I mean, there's a lot there, but you couldn't really tell what those shapes were. But you look at at what Parrot did with the Anafi Thermal, and it was like night and day difference. So that makes me really excited about this option. Now, the other thing here, which I think is huge, is it's weatherproof here, which I think is very important, because first responders, it's not always a bright sunny day or a crisp clear night. Okay, there's going to be elements out there. There's going to be rain. There's going to be snow, sleet. There's going to be a mixture of precipitation out there. It's going to need to be able to traverse all that, to be able to do it well and to do its job well. Plus, this price, it's $7,000. Okay. Now I know the Dual was, I'm trying to remember the price tag on that, but I think it's much more than that. I think it's probably twice that much. And for what you get for this, for what Parrot's offering, I think it's fantastic. What I'm excited about is getting out there and seeing some of the videos from it. I'm waiting for Parrot to post some videos. I didn't see anything yet. So when I do, I'm going to get it out not only to my Facebook page and group, but to the Parrot Anafi group as well. So, this is exciting news. And I have to say this, okay? The people that got me excited about the Anafi, because I'm still pretty excited about it, you two guys, okay, which translates, that's from Brian, but the other person is Ethan Mitchell, okay? Yeah. Ethan has done, and Ethan, if you're watching tonight, hope you're doing well. Love to have you back on again sometime. I know you're on Wednesday nights with Bill, so I don't know if your schedule jives and we can have you on, but I'd love to have you on again sometime, hopefully in the near future, because, Ethan has dissected this drone. He knows it backwards and forwards. He knows the software on it. He knows its capabilities. He knows its limitations. He can make this thing do things that you would not believe. So, Ethan, kudos to you for all your hard work and your dedication on this. Your videos have never ceased to impress me on the Anafi. So,
and Bill, this Anafi has one of the things that Ethan likes most about the Anafi drone, that it doesn't have any of the flight restrictions from airspace.
No geofencing on this. I mean, that's huge. And I think.
And let me ask you this question. You may not know it, but like if you're a first responder and you need to rescue somebody in an area that's sort of geofenced, is there any special waiver for somebody that's in an emergency situation? They've got a missing person or whatever, and they may be in a no-fly zone. Is there any special waiver for somebody under extraordinary circumstances? Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, I would think there's something with the software that would enable them to do that. That would tell them, look, now it doesn't say anything. Now, the one thing the Enterprise does have, it does have ADS-B on it. All right, I'm pretty sure the Enterprise Dual does. I'm pretty sure about that. I think there's a capability. I think there would be a way of doing that, to be able to fly in those zones, to be able to get in there. I think they would get an automatic pass for something like that. So I would say, yeah, maybe through the app, maybe through Kitty Hawk or something like that, they would be able to, just punch in a code and boom, they wouldn't even need to wait for an approval and just go there.
Two other points that probably missed in this announcement. Number one is that the memory card is secured in such a way that if the drone would crash or whatever, that people could not get their data off the memory card. It has some kind of security built in. Maybe it's tied to your computer. I don't know the details. And also, it has a Wi-Fi, but it looks like it's a Wi-Fi signal that's sort of firewalled, which means it cannot be interfered from something from another device. So it may be able to be. It may not be able to be shot down with those drone guns that you see in these videos that, you see police using them or maybe military, but if the police and military have them, the bad guys will eventually have those guns and they would shoot down the good drones.
Yeah, Lon pointed out DJI Enterprise drones are unlocked for first responder use. So thank you, Lon.
Thank you, Lon.
That's a good point. And
of course the Anafi is unlocked because it's unlocked for everything.
It's really good here, and I think this conversation was very good to have tonight about this because it's important that we know some of these things, and
yeah. And before we get off this, just one quick question: do you think some of this technology that's on this Enterprise drone will make it down to a consumer version of this drone, of course, without the FLIR camera and without a lot of that other stuff that maybe we'll see in an Anafi 2 or something similar, where again they use a lot of the technology that's put into this thing, but in a much more affordable consumer version? Do you see that coming in the near future, Bill?
You read my mind, Ron. That's exactly what I was going to say. Because if you look at it, and if you physically look at it, it is bigger than the Anafi. All right.
Right.
So then a lot of benefits would automatically be passed on to the consumer. Probably not. You wouldn't. Obviously, the camera would be different, but and obviously, you probably wouldn't have the encrypted data on there. But other things, that runtime, that runtime better than what's on the current Anafi right now?
Yeah, the current Anafi is 20 minutes tops.
Okay, they said 33 right now. So I mean, if the body, the battery assembly, that kind of thing, that translates over. And I know for that controller for the Anafi is a great controller. Okay,
and
would you guys agree with that?
It looks like this Anafi controller takes a tablet without a adapter.
Wow. See, that's
Sam Burns makes a good point there too. He's saying just like race technology, it trickles down to our street cars. Same goes for these drones.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sam. Thank you for bringing that up. And that's important to know because, it's just, it's so good that, this is a great time right now because, and that's why I always, everybody goes, oh, it's a commercial drone. No, you need to pay attention to some of these commercial drones because technology that you see on an Inspire, for example, is going to trickle down to a consumer drone. Okay, technology you see on this Anafi USA is going to trickle down to consumer drone. Parrot's going to do it. And I think one of the other points that I want to do before I wrap this segment up here is, Parrot is in good with the United States government right now, which is great for them. Okay, and that's going to produce a lot of revenue for Parrot. Okay, which is a good thing. All right, and when that happens, okay. And I think that's going to happen in short order. Plus, they're going to build them here in the United States. I mean, there's a lot of goodwill with Parrot, which is fantastic, and I think that's great. I think that also is going to bode well, and I think we'll see an Anafi 2 sooner rather than later. What do you guys think? Because of that.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, Greg Pittman just made a good comment that because of the changes in the FAA regs, I think everything is up in the air right now.
Well, Greg's right on that. I mean, I can't disagree with that at all.
Right, but I mean, I do see it, another consumer Anafi come out because, as you kind of said, if you have all this technology anyways, from the enterprise, part of the company or whatever, and you already have a good reputation in the marketplace. Anafi's been making drones at least as long as DJI, probably before, and so they're definitely a name brand that the community knows and kind of trusts. I mean, this is a small example, but the Tello drone that was so famous from DJI, I know it's really a Rise product or whatever. Well, Parrot had that Mambo out 2 years earlier that flew kind of just as good as Tello and did many things, and they were like 2 years ahead on that. So, I mean, they haven't grabbed a foothold in this country like DJI has, but they've done some good work. So I do see a consumer version coming out. And I mean, I know we're up in the air about all the regulations, but the whole industry's up in the air about the regulation. So, DJI, I mean, Parrot's not going to worry about it any more than or less than the other companies.
Hey, so Ron, so you and I have talked about this a lot. So we look at that Parrot Anafi and we look at the features and everything that are on that drone, and wow, it still is a top of the line product today that's competitive with anything out there. Now, the two things that it's lacking are range, right? And that's everybody complains about the range. That's one of my biggest complaints. But the other thing is it does not have any kind of obstacle avoidance. Other than that, I challenge you you put that drone up against almost anything else out there, and it's still 2 years old, but it's still pretty state of the art.
Yeah, I mean, remember the camera on the Anafi is still. I mean, it's not as good as the Mavic Air 2, but it's not that far off, and it's much better than what you're getting out of your Fimis and your Hubsons and all that, whatever. And when it came out, it was right neck and neck with some of the DJI drones because it has a 21 megapixel camera rather than the 12 megapixel camera you saw on most of the Mavics. Go ahead, Marcus. You got a
couple more comments, Ron. You will never see the props in a shot on that Parrot Anafi. You will never see the props in a shot. Also, when you need to look up, you just point that camera up.
And you won't have to worry about a DJI Fly type of app on this. The app on this thing is as sophisticated as the Go 4 app.
At least.
At least.
I'm sold.
Yeah, well, it's
Send that man a drone.
it's just that we're always looking for that next biggest thing, and that Parrot Anafi has been so overlooked. I think the single biggest thing that holds it back, and Ron, I want to hear what you say because you fly it too, but it's the damn range, and it's not so much when you're out in the open, it's when you're in an urban environment, or if there's trees around, it just doesn't go very far before it loses FPV signal.
Yeah, I'll define that. The range isn't, it's not such much a knock about the range is how it flies, but the quickness that you lose your FPV signal is more of a thing. Like many times you can lose your FPV, you still have complete control with the controller, you can still fly it all over the place. You just lose your FPV quickly if you get that Wi-Fi interference. And now, that being said, Marcus, I've never gone in and changed the channels or played with it or whatever. But so many people have problems with it. I'm sure many people have tried that, and it doesn't really work.
Hey, so Lon is saying something in the chat here. So I'd be interesting to expand on that. So, Lon, you don't feel that the Parrot app is as good as the Go 4? I mean, I'm telling you, it's close in my book.
Yeah. What features missing in the Anafi that the Go 4 has?
Anyway, he's probably furiously typing away.
Yeah, he's typing like crazy. There's a big whatever. The show will be over by the time he gets done typing because Ron's got to run. He's got to get ready. He's got to change his costume and get his makeup redone for the Feiyue and Ron show. Few minutes or whatever. I think if the link's not in the chat, you guys all know where it is anyways. Just type, if you've never been seeing the show before, just go to the YouTube, type Feiyue and Ron, and it'll pop right up. So
it'll pop up.
Yeah, it'll pop up. We don't need a stinking link as
that's right. Mikey would say.
Madre.
Mikey would say. Ron, do you have anything you got coming up you'd like to tell us about? No big news. I'm still working on flying the same. The Mavic Air 2 testing will probably never end until the Mavic 3 comes out, right, Bill? Yeah, that's true.
So, and until you can give me that date on the Mavic 3, well, I mean, what's his name? Lauren did say September or October, so we do have a time frame.
Yep, there we go.
So, I mean, great show tonight, gentlemen. We didn't get to talk about the Scudios, and we'll have to do that on another time or whatever. Because
we'll do that next time.
That Scudio battery charge, I don't have that multi-charger, but I want to get it now because what they did for that multi-charger, and Marcus has a video about it, it's an amazing piece of technology. I mean, the thing Scudio does right, I mean, they really do right.
Yeah.
I
would agree 100%.
Yeah. So
100%.
And I'm going to have more Scudio videos come up too. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Marcus's car video. Is that shot or is that about to be shot?
Hey, Ron, before you leave, would you hit that thumbs up on the screen there?
Yeah, of course. I don't actually. I only have StreamYard, but I don't actually have the thing up.
Oh, okay.
I'm hitting a virtual thumbs up, but I will hit it on the replay.
Yeah. But that was part of what I was talking about. This is coming, folks. I already got that beacon strapped to the big RC car. So
if it wasn't for this darn coronavirus, I'd hop play down there and help you film that one, Marcus.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'd take a red eye out there.
Yeah.
But good night, gentlemen. Happy flying. And Bill, stay in that air conditioning until that heat wave lets up.
You got that right. I'm not going anywhere. It's just in this house.
Or hop a red eye to Calgary and you cool off up there with
rain. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is we're at a high risk for fire down here right now. I mean,
and plus you're not allowed to fly to many states anyways because you'd have to take the 14-day quarantine if you.
I'd have to quarantine the Mavic Air 2 for 14 days.
Yeah. You wouldn't have to, yeah.
That wouldn't be good. So
no.
All right, guys. We'll see you later on. Thank you so much, Marcus.
Hey, so did you notice there, Bill, that Ron, his persona was changing to the Feiyue and Ron show right before our eyes?
He was getting ready because and Ron said, before you joined tonight, and I'm going to share this with everybody. Ron's getting a haircut I think Friday here, guys. So I mean, this is a big deal. because Ron says he's not going to look like a 16-year-old anymore. And I was sharing with Ron. I said, I'll never. I had hair down to here when I was 16. Okay, and I'd go get my hair cut, and I asked my barber. I said, just trim the ends here, and we're good. And he was always good about that. All right. I come back once. My mom, she's like, you didn't get a haircut. I just spent $10 and you didn't get a stinking haircut. I said, I got a haircut. So I went, she said, go back. So I went back, but I took an envelope with me. Larry was my barber's name. I said, Larry, do me a favor. Pick up some black hair, put it in this envelope so I can take it home to my mom. I did, and she was good with it. So that's just, mom never knew. I never told her the real story behind that. So that's where we're at. Marcus, anything coming up on your channel that you'd like to tell us about?
Well, I've already talked about the Truggy here.
Yeah, it's going to be great
with the Skydio. But Bill, to your point, I have been thinking about that Fimi X8 SE, and I haven't flown my 2018 version in a while. So yeah, I think we're going to get that thing out. Maybe go out to Lucky Peak Reservoir or something like that, or maybe even the Canyon, and get that thing out there. The other drone that I have been, since we got the Mavic Air 2, that I've been paying a lot of attention to, and I need to, is that Mavic Mini. It doesn't have the features, but it's sure a fun little drone to fly. So I need to get that one out as well.
Yeah, I haven't flown the Mini. That's been the drone that's been sitting along. Well, I got to say this, probably my Mavic 2 Pro. That's been sitting there for a while too. So
the zoom. But here's the thing, Bill. I've got that smart controller coming. So when that thing hits my door, that zoom is going to be zooming everywhere.
Oh my! You know what? You'll. Sarah would say, "What's that under your pillow, Marcus?" You can go, "Oh, nothing. That's going to be your smart controller. You're gonna sleep with it. I mean, it's gonna be that. It's game changing. That's what I call it. It's such a game changer. Well, what I got coming up is, okay, I'm getting my 6-wheel drive car out this week. Okay. I got it charged up. It's ready to go. I took a test drive. I didn't film anything. But what I did was I got an attachment for my Osmo Action it's a backpack clamp, but I can attach the Osmo Action to it, and it's, you can adjust it. So, and there's, it's like an off-road desert kind of thing. It has like a roll bar and some other attachments. I could just throw that on. It's like a big laundry pin. Okay. That you can clamp on there. And then I also got a GPS enabled speedometer, okay, that you use on bikes. It was about $25, and there's an area in a compartment. I'm going to strap that in there with Velcro so we can see how fast this thing goes. So,
I got an idea for you, Bill. I just thought of this while we were sitting here talking. If you do that, if you're in an open area with that car, the Mavic Air 2 will recognize a car. And plus, this last update, they said that in sport mode, it will track up to 19 meters per second.
Okay.
So obviously, you'd want to be in an open area where it wasn't going to go sideways into something. But I'll bet you could get that Mavic Air 2 to track that car.
There's a soccer field by me that I know will be absolutely perfect for something.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be great, because that would also get my. Now I have to enlist my beautiful better half for that. So that's.
Well, that's kind of what I told Sarah with this one. As I said, I want her there because I'm going to, obviously you put the Skydio up and it's kind of doing its own thing, and I'll be driving the car, but I really want her there for an extra set of eyes as well, to be, just looking out for anything that could happen. So,
yeah, and I hate to say it, with everything that's going on, that's probably a wise precaution. I mean,
yeah,
that's just, that's just unfortunately, the times we're in. So, Marcus, thank you so much. Ron, I know you've already left. Thank you so much. It was a great show tonight. Lots of great talk. And like I said, guys, just because we get a commercial drone come out doesn't mean we don't talk about it. And I think it's important that we did spend some time talking about the Anafi USA, because it's going to have a lot of benefits. So we've got a lot to look forward to this year. So I'm really excited about that. And I also, but before I leave tonight, I have to thank Marcus for this. Okay, there have been a very few select people out there to get this, and I'm one of the few select people to get this. I know Brian from True Drone Reviews, he got one as well too. So, you know, I guess we're on Marcus's good and not naughty list. So as far as that's concerned. So Marcus, thank you again for that. That was fantastic to get that in the mail. Guys, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Take care, and remember, it's a good day to fly. Everybody be safe out there. Take care.